Hey everybody, in this episode we are going over the 7 key ideas from Make Your Bed by Navy SEAL 4-star Admiral William McRaven.
Key idea number 1 from this book is that when you make your bed, you build momentum. It's a great way to start the day. This is something that every person in the American military knows. I remember when I was leaving grad school and joining the Navy, I was amazed at how much emphasis there was on how you make your bed. It was this thing that was going to be inspected every day, all the time when you're out of the room, constant checks on how you made your bed. It was so serious that I actually wouldn't get in my bed at night. I would make the bed perfectly, do all the hospital corners and all of that, and then I would bundle up with all the clothes that I had on instead of getting under the blankets, and I would sleep on top of the bed. And then I would get up in the morning, fine-tune everything, and then I would go out because we were exercising at 4:45 in the morning, so there wasn't extra time to do this bed making thing either. Once you got it right, you kept it right. So I would do this, shave, and get out all at 4:30 in the morning because it was just so important. We were constantly checked on making your bed, and I didn't necessarily know why at the time. But as we went on, I began to learn that it was important to have things in order before you left, and it was great to come back to the room at the end of the day and to find everything looking perfect. And when I left the room to go to a class or to exercise or something, to close the door and to see that perfectly made bed as I walked out. It's one of these things that gets momentum going. And the exercise in the morning too. It's another way if you're looking for something like this, and maybe making your bed is a good analogy, but it's not something that actually jives with your personal value system. Think about getting that exercise first thing in the morning as a great way to get that momentum for the day. Key idea number 2 from Make Your Bed is to never quit. It's the whole idea of this brutal selection that Navy SEALs go through, this BUDS, where they're getting kept up for long hours, going through constant exposure to cold water, heat, fatigue, obstacle courses, running, paddling boats, getting cold, sandy, dirty, and then starting it all over again. The whole point is to teach you, or to select for, people who will not quit. And if you read memoirs of Navy SEALs, if you read Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell, which I just finished and was incredible, I could not put it down. If you read David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, which I've also summarized on this channel, these guys write their memoirs about the times in life where they didn't quit. And they keep talking about how that was part of the mentality of the SEALs. They repeat back the SEAL creed or the SEAL ethos. And one of the lines from that is, "I am never out of the fight." They're very clear that you must never quit. And it was crucial in this book. Key idea number 3 from Make Your Bed is that if one man could rise above the misery, then others could as well. This was a story from a moment that Admiral McRaven had as a young man going through BUDS. And they take these guys, it's Hell Week. They've been up for days without sleep, and they go to the Tijuana mudflats, and they tell them to get into the mud, and they wade in up to their neck in cold mud. It's dark. The sun isn't going to come out for hours. It's the middle of the night, and they tell them, okay, you can go home as soon as 5 of you quit. Now that is a recipe for misery. And they could have. Somebody could have said, I'm going to go. There's one guy who starts to get up, and Admiral McRaven pulls him back and he says, okay, wait, we can do this. We can get through this. Just hang in there a little bit. And they hang in, and then one guy starts to sing some off-color song. And then before you know it, other guys are singing along with this song, and it's out of tune, and I'm sure these guys are hoarse and raspy after being up for days, but they keep singing. And he said that made the mud seem just a little bit warmer. If you can rise above the misery, then you can take yourself a long way. And you can do it for other people too. It's a contagious effect when we get above our circumstances. Key idea number 4 is that life is not fair. There's no point in expecting that life is going to be fair. It's not going to be very useful for you. You want to have useful beliefs. You want to have an understanding of the world that's going to serve you. And in this case, for Admiral McRaven, he had a moment where he was really down. He felt like life wasn't fair. He felt a lot of self-pity. And he'd been through something very rough, something most of us probably will never experience. He had a parachuting accident, and he had been severely injured, a lot of damage, especially to his back and his pelvis. He had a plate put in his pelvis, and he was laid up and bedridden. And he said he felt down. He felt self-pity. But in that moment, it was his wife, actually, George Ann, who gave him some tough love and told him that he needed to move on. She reminded him of who he is, of the things that he'd been through, and got his mind off of this sense that, oh, I feel bad for myself. Oh, I have this self-pity. Oh, life isn't fair. And got him to push through that and eventually go on to continue his career in the Navy. I think he was in doubt as to whether or not he would really be able to continue after a severe injury like this. But he pushed through and he got over that self-pity. Key idea number 5 is to outwork, out-hustle, and outperform everyone. And this is another one from a moment of doubt in Admiral McRaven's career. He was leading a squadron and he was actually fired from his role in leading that squadron. And this is a moment where you could think, oh man, I better start getting my resume ready. I'm going to be out of the Navy. There's not much more I can do. But instead, he decided to turn this around, to put in more work, to outwork, outperform, out-hustle everybody, to put his best foot forward every day. And he went on, of course, to be a great leader, to become a 4-star admiral and to stay in the Navy for a long time. But it began from this moment of adversity and actually being fired from his role. It's kind of ironic that it's so important to have this ability to outperform others and stand out and to compete within the Navy when at first it's not what we're taught to do. When you first join the Navy, you're taught to blend in. You're taught that the best path in something like a boot camp or an officer candidate school is the middle path. You don't want to get noticed. You don't want to be up at the front. You don't want to be the best. You don't want to be the worst. You don't want to stand out. You want to be kind of in the middle, not get noticed, and just skate through. That's the message there, just to be part of this uniform product, everything getting churned out and moved on to whatever your next phase of indoctrination or training is. Even just the next part of that day on a very small scale. Just constantly the sense that you just get through, you just keep your head down and stay out of trouble. But you have to eventually transcend this. There are times to just get through, and there are times to stand out, put out the absolute best that you can, get creative, try something new, maybe be a little innovative. And Admiral McRaven realized that in that moment where he'd blown it, he'd lost his job, it was time for him to step up and stand out, outwork, outperform, and out-hustle everyone. Key idea number 6 is the counterpoint to this competitive mentality in that your success depends on others. If you talk to anyone who's been a Navy SEAL, who's paddled a boat into the surf, or just someone who's just casually gone out and shared a kayak with someone, you know that it's so important to be able to depend on the people around you. And every Navy SEAL that I've talked to on this podcast has a story of some sort of incredible moment of teamwork. A lot of people would tell you that it's really the teamwork that gets them through something like BUD/S. And I talked to Navy SEAL Stu Smith, who trains people before they go to BUD/S, and he said that so much of BUD/S is about a person's psychological makeup, about their heart, rather than their physical abilities. And that sense of having heart, of being able to rise above something and push through, it is a human emotion. It is contagious. It is something that the people around us will affect. Just like feeling happy or sad, when we're around people who are happy or sad, we get that. And just the same with having this ability to push through as a team, it comes back to being able to depend on others and getting that emotion, that sense, that feeling from the people around you. Key idea number 7 is to change the world slowly. This is the beginning and the end of Admiral McRaven's incredible viral commencement speech that he gives at the University of Texas. It's probably been viewed tens of millions of times by now. And this is an important idea, especially for kids who are graduating college, because when you're coming out of a big moment like that and you're stepping into a new phase of career or more schooling, the sense is that you want to make a dent in the universe. You're trying to make something happen. And it can be overwhelming to try and do that all at once. You don't really know how to do that. You haven't actually done something like that because you've been so focused on yourself. I mean, when I was in college, all I thought about was myself. How do I take care of my needs, my grades, my sports, my extracurriculars? How do I set myself up for a job in the future? When you start to look at how you affect other people, it can seem too big. And the best thing you can do is to take it one bite at a time. Missionaries know this. Missionaries invest deeply in relationships with just a few people, and then they hope that those relationships will then cause those people to invest deeply in a few others. And before you know it, the influence of a missionary is exponential because of all the people they've invested in who have gone and invested in others. That's how you change the world when you think like a missionary. And that's the core of Admiral McRaven's idea. It tied in really nicely with the whole ethos of the University of Texas and their system. He eventually had a big role in the University of Texas system, and this speech, of course, was a huge hit that turned into a book for him. It's an amazing thing, a great speech, a great book. I'll put links to both of them down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, I'm making videos like this all the time, so be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.